Good morning, everyone. This is Rachelle with Grief Recovery with Rachelle. Today is October 17th. It has a lot of meaning for me today. It's been 2 years today that my father died by suicide. He was what we would call in grief recovery a less than loved one. That I loved him, of course, but he wasn't in my life every day. He was more my estranged father. So 2 years ago, I got a call first thing in the morning that my father had died by suicide. And I just remember where I was on those days. So I want to take you where I was on those early days, and then where it led me, and then where I am today. So where I started, once I got that call, I just remember immediately going into my head, immediately just feeling crushed, the heaviest weight ever. I think, well, now I know, I've been able to find it, but there was a piece of me that kind of hoped that we would have a relationship again one day. There was a piece of me that would think of him as I was on the freeway. Maybe that was him. Or maybe he would know my husband and kids one day. Maybe we'd have a relationship, kind of hoping that maybe I can have him over for dinner. And I didn't do those things for a different reason. I was left with all of these things I wish I would have done differently, and a horrific dread and so much sadness, not only for myself, but for my kids and for him. But not only just sadness, I was angry. I was so devastatingly hurt that he died. He died without trying to know me more. He died without knowing my kids. Now I can see over time how he would see me on Facebook and maybe like some pictures that were usually tagged by someone else. At that time, I wasn't using Facebook. And I thought, well, maybe he sees that I'm happy and I'm doing well, and maybe that hurts him. And so maybe it was my fault. I just kind of was everywhere. But I was so lonely and abandoned in my heart. I thought, I must not be lovable. I must be no good. There must not be a reason to stick around and try to know me. I was pretty crushed. The thing about it is, I knew I was sad, and my husband, being right here in the home, knew I was sad, but I couldn't form into words. And part of that was I didn't know that I had permission to feel it. I didn't know that I was allowed to be sad, that it was perfectly normal. I remember saying out loud to someone who eventually found out and asked how I was feeling. I remember saying, oh, I'm fine. You know, he wasn't even in my life anyway. I'm okay. I'm good. What a lie. What a terrible, devastating lie. I was trapped in this pain, this weird cycle. I couldn't get words out quick enough. I couldn't focus. I just couldn't be a part of what was going on. I couldn't give my heart. I didn't feel joy. I couldn't find any joy. Even though I know it's there, I knew I have these amazing kids and life and husband, but I couldn't attach to it. That devastating event led me to finally calling my friend, who is a grief recovery specialist, and I signed up for her class. I took her class. It's an 8-week class, and did the method that we call grief recovery. It was 8 weeks. It's a very specific step-by-step approach to helping you with loss of any kind: death, divorce, suicide, move, friendship loss, health loss, you name it. So I finally called her. I went into this class, and I remember immediately feeling relief that I was allowed to feel. The definition of grief is it's a normal and natural reaction to loss of any kind. So what I was feeling, the loneliness, the abandonment, the sadness, a little anger, just hurt, like I couldn't put words into all the way. It was okay, that there wasn't anything wrong with me. I think that's what led me to calling her, was I noticed that I was hurting so much, and all the tools that I had in my life available to me through just living, through my parents, through teachers, friends, whatever. I'd been to therapy in my life. I'd done EMDR, a special type of therapy in my life, and none of those tools were pulling me out of this one. And I was afraid. I was stuck. I didn't know what to do, and I was afraid because I couldn't find my way back to wanting to be engaged with my kids. I was just going through the motion of getting them up and getting them to school and then coming home and just numb and exhausted because my thoughts are going everywhere. Anyhow, I go fast forward. I'm in this class. I learned so many things that I was doing and telling myself that were hurting me. I learned that I was allowed to have emotion, that I wasn't crazy for that, even though he wasn't in my life. It could have been Princess Diana, whom I've never met. I could still have emotion and sadness over that. Or Elvis. I mean, he was dead before I was born. It's okay for me to have sadness. You have a relationship to everything. I not only learned that it's okay to have emotion, but I learned that things I was telling myself, like, it's okay, he wasn't in my life. He wasn't in my life every day, so it's okay, I'm fine. Lying to myself. Not giving myself permission to feel. It's okay, just give it time. You know what? Everything gets better in time. But it wasn't. It was getting worse. It felt worse. It felt scary. Learning or telling myself, well, don't feel bad. You know, at least you're still here. And, you know, whatever I was telling myself, they were all wrong. And I was able to find and learn and introduce into my life brand new tools that are helpful and effective. It's a step-by-step action program to help you find true help so you can feel better. That is the point. So now 2 years later, I was moved on Saturday talking with my husband, reflecting, knowing that this day was coming up. And I was so moved because I'm in a ridiculously different place. I teach the grief recovery method now. I've become certified. And I was so moved with gratitude because that initial act of my father's that left me abandoned and bruised and bleeding to death on the inside has now given me the most amazing gift that I can take that pain and I learned from it, and now I can help other people. It propelled me into a life that I didn't know was coming, that I'm able to stop and teach a class to help other people when they're hurting and bruised and they're not feeling quite right. And I'm able to tell them that there's nothing wrong with them. I'm able to teach them the things that are hurting them that they've been currently using that aren't working. And I'm able to give them new tools to move through life. I have immense gratitude. My father, who was so hurt that he took his own life, left me feeling abandoned and bruised, but yet he gave me the biggest gift that he could not have given me when he was alive. He gave me the gift of the grief recovery method that I get to help other people. If you can't find your pains and be grateful for them, I don't blame you. Pain is hurtful, it's scary, it's isolating, but it doesn't have to stay there. And if you find yourself staying there, stuck in the constant memory, you wake up and the pain is on your mind, you go to bed and the pain is on your mind, throughout the day the pain is on your mind, you aren't broken, you're just stuck. You're probably filled with tools that aren't working. And I beg you to please look up the grief recovery method. Find a specialist near you. What harm is there in learning new tools to get yourself unstuck? There is no grief that's too old. There's no grief that's too new. When you decide you're tired of hurting, I urge you to call the grief recovery method or to look it up online. Go to my site, griefrecoverywithrachelle.com. Whatever you decide to do, give yourself permission to learn new tools. It's a step-by-step action approach that's taught in 7 or 8 weeks. We also teach when children grieve because, you know, there could have been young children who were affected by my father's suicide, just like in your life. Maybe you're having the grief, but your child also is. And we want to help steer them correctly. So When Children Grieve is actually one of my favorite programs that I love to teach. But I really urge you, if the tools you are currently using aren't bringing you to a new healthy normal where you can find joy and goodness and live there, if you're bouncing back and forth in an emotional roller coaster, let us help you. It's not therapy. It's tools. It's a class. It's a classroom environment full of love and acceptance and healthy tools. I love you so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being here on this journey of my own, but letting me be on the journey with you as you learn healthy tools to get you to recovery. I love you. We'll talk with you next time.